so now I'm going to start binding the foliage on there. At this point, you do have to be a little bit thoughtful about your design and what you're creating, because it's bound in sequence. By that I mean you sort of start and you bind it all along, so you don't really go back and add something in. You've got to make sure you've got everything you want in that section before you go on.
Right.
I'll show you.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to cut this down. This is obviously not going to work. Where's my binding wire? There it is. Okay, so let's start. So what we're looking to do is you are looking to bind your pieces on, and when we start binding them on, that is a particularly ugly piece, but don't worry because it's going to be covered. I don't like wreaths that go straight out like this. I like them when they're angled, because I feel as if it feels like it's moving when you look at it, and I think the eye travels much better around something that feels as if it's moving when you look at it, and you get much more drawn into it. It's just much more interesting for your eye to look at.
Okay.
There's probably a proper term for that, but I don't know what it is. So everything is slightly angled. Doesn't matter whether it's this way or this way, it's just that's much better than it coming straight out, okay? So, binding wire.
So you're just slightly lifting up the wreath and then feeding the wire behind.
Okay, so the first thing I've done is I've popped the wire under and over, so those two are in place. And now I'm going to bind through. Okay, so now they are on there. Okay, and you just keep adding more and more and more content.
Okay.
So say next we go in with some they. Each section takes quite a lot of content because you've got this whole area to cover.
Yeah.
And also what you don't want to do is you don't want to be able to see half of it.
Yes.
So you've got to make sure everything is angled down as well.
Down.
Does that make sense?
Angled like across and then also down.
So it's going down
Behind,
like this, so it hides the base, because otherwise you're going to have foliage that starts there.
Yeah.
And you're actually going to see a lot of this.
Yes.
It's fine for you to see it on the back. That's what you'd expect, you know. But you don't want to see a load on the side.
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay, some ivy leaf. Going on.
So are you just building up all the way round the back section first, and then you'll go back round with forward, or are you doing one section
So
at a
I'm
time?
doing one section at a time.
Okay.
I'm covering from here through to here, and I'm going to move from here to here, and I'm going to be moving around in this direction, okay?
Right, okay.
Because with this, the way we do this, you can't go back and bind over.
Yes.
So you have to have you have to complete each part in sequence, is what I was trying to say earlier.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me. Okay. So what you can do, as Jenny correctly pointed out, sorry, I get so used to just doing it, so you kind of, you go into autopilot.
Yes.
You can just jab the end of the stem into the foliage, into the moss base a little bit. It just gives you a little bit more leverage on there, and then bind it in as well. My designs are never symmetrical anyway, and that's how I like them. I would probably say that when you're making a wreath, if you're going to have weight anywhere, I would say it would be at the base rather than at the top.
Okay.
I don't know why, but again, your eye works better that way. So if you have more weight at the base, or even to one side on the base, that's quite nice, so it's like off center.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put as much weight at the top. If you have more weight at the top and a slimmer bottom, it will just look as if it's upside down. I don't know what the actual explanation for that is.
Yeah.
But if we do, when we do this, and I'll show you, and you'll be able to see exactly what I mean, and you'll think, oh yeah, it looks like someone's hung it the wrong way up. So we can still see some of the moss.
Yes.
You can use a more decorative moss and pin that in using mossing pins, funnily enough they're called.
Okay.
So that will be something like this grey Tillandsia moss here, gives a lovely texture. I use a lot of this, and it's a really good way of covering a mechanic but also being really decorative at the same time. And you can run little bits of that through the whole design as well. So when we're finished adding the foliage in, I'll add some of this in and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There's no rules on the design of these either, you know, it's whatever the hell you want it to be. If you want it to be big and wild, it can be big and wild. If you want it to be smaller and neater, it can be smaller and neater. Like I said earlier, if you want to group the foliage, you can do that. It's whatever you feel like doing. There's absolutely no right or wrong. It's not an exercise in technical correctness.
Yes.
It's an exercise in just letting your inner creative have fun. When we run the flower school, when we do our wreath classes with the flower school, we always try to let people know that not to be scared and not to feel sort of fraught and panic about it, because that invariably makes them sort of seize up and stop being able to make something really lovely. And the more you enjoy it, the more beautiful it'll be, because however you feel will come out in the end product.
Yes.
Let's have a look.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah. Ta-da!
Ta-da! Don't you? And just quite sort of like not rough, but just quite confident with the.
Yeah, totally. You don't need to be sort of very light in the touch with the foliage. It's really robust. So you can quite manhandle it basically, you know, pretty much you will take it and just make your decisions and stick to it, and don't be too sort of unsure when you're making the design, because that will lead you to sort of maybe thinking, oh, should I do this, shouldn't I do this, and you don't want to have to go back on anything either.
Yes.
Okay, so this is where I am currently. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some pine cones in there for the extra Christmas feel, and then we're going to add the extra textures that we foraged for earlier. So to get the pine cones onto the wreath, you're going to need to put them on wires. These wires you can buy in the same sort of places that I was talking about earlier when I was talking about buying the bases, so florist sundry shops, garden centres, somewhere like Hobbycraft, you definitely get them there. Okay, so what you're looking to do is get your little pine cone. You want the bottom end, so the bum basically, and you just wedge your wire under one, and you're sort of snaking in and out of each of the little kernels? No, what are they called?
Sections.
Sections of the pine cone?
I don't know.
We don't know the technical name. And then you're twisting and you've got a pine cone on a wire. Okay, so I'm going to do a few of those. Different sizes as well of the pine cones. Not all big, not all small. Sort of a different selection of sizes, again, makes it more interesting to look at the design.
Probably easier to forage in some ways as well.
Oh god, yeah, uniformity is not what we're looking for here. Interest and character is what we're looking for, not bland uniformity. So I'm going to put the pine cones in now. When you put them in, they are likely, the wire legs, to go straight through and come out the back. Okay. When they come out the back, you just bend them back into the wreath. You don't want wires sticking out the back. So if I pop it in there, you can see the wires come out the back there. So what you want to do to secure it, you want to anchor it back in, push the wire back in, and you've got your pine cone. And you can also angle your pine cone then the way you want it. Yeah. Okay, so I've got the pine cones in there now as well. The next thing is just the finishing touches, which are the little tiny little pieces that we want to add in. For that, I am going to use a little bit of glue. because I think that's really the best way to get them in there. So this is the standard floristry glue, so cold glue, floral adhesive. A lot of florists will use hot glue. I find this is better, there's a better bond on it. It's really easy to use, you don't need any equipment to use it. It's just literally the tube in your hand. Has a better bind than most glue that builders use, to be honest. And once it's on, it's on. You just need a little dab on each piece that you're using, and then you need to nestle it in, hold it for a few seconds, and by that point it should have bound onto the wreath. So I'd say really this is the kind of thing that you would do on a lazy Sunday, where, you know, if maybe you're going out for a walk or walk with the dogs, you go and you pick some foliage, and then you go home and you can just take your time and enjoy it, you know, in the warmth and comfort of your own home. It's a messy thing, but you know, you just got to go with it. You've got to accept the fact that it is messy.
Embrace the mess.
Yeah,
definitely.
just go with it, and then you feel so fulfilled by the end of it, and you hold it up and you think, okay, well, I made that. I had quite a productive day today for a lazy Sunday.
Yeah.
Obviously followed by a roast and a glass of wine, and that's a perfect Sunday, right?
Yeah. 100%. And what's great about this actually is that once you've bought the pins and the metal thing, you can just use that every year. It's not like you have to rebuy it.
And once you've done it once, you know you can do it again. So you're just equipping yourself with skills to use year after year.
Done! Oh, I'm so pleased. Thank you so much.
Let's have a look, hold it up.
Okay. So, this is my finished wreath. It's beautiful. Just gonna put it down before my little crab apple slash cherries fall off. But yeah, I'm so chuffed, and do you know what? I've never ever done anything to do with floristry before. So I think if I can do it, anyone can.
It's
really.
amazing. It's amazing what you can create if you just have a few sort of like simple pieces of guidance and a few steps along the way. You can pretty much do anything, and it's about enjoying it and keeping it sort of simple rather than overwrought and overkill. Just enjoy it and just be guided by your eye. Do what you feel and do what you want to do, and don't think, is this right, is this wrong? If you like it, it's not wrong. It's for your home. Yeah. It's what you want it to be.
Well, you know, I think if as long as you're patient, you've got the time, you've got the foliage, you'll be fine. I just want to say a massive thank you to Beth for having us here today.
It's been a pleasure.
So Beth is the owner of Forbesfield, which is a floristry company that specialises mostly in weddings.
Yeah, mainly weddings.
But Beth is also the co-founder of the Flower School. So if you really like this tutorial today, go and have a look at the Flower School, because she's a fabulous teacher. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
But we're on courses on wreath making, we're on all other kind of classes, hobby classes and professional classes, so hop on our website and book a class. We'd love to see you there.
Great, I'll pop a link in the comments. But thanks so much guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you soon.